What is up, YouTube? I'm Got74 here, bringing you guys week 4 of the PCP. This week we take on Dan, coach of the Dallas Stallers. We're going into this game with a 3-0 record, while my opponent is going into this game with a 2-1 record. Now, before we get into anything, I want to let you guys know that that logo on screen is actually one I just threw together. Dan does have a logo, but he did not send it to me and did not post it on Discord, so I just threw something together. Secondly, happy holidays to everybody watching, regardless if you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or any other holiday. I hope you guys have been enjoying your break. I know I have. It's currently the 27th, or that's when this is going to go up, because Christmas was very hectic for me, and I usually record on Wednesdays, and I didn't get a chance to record. So that's why this is going up late. I do have a lot of information for you guys, so I highly recommend you don't skip to the battle until after I'm done saying all these things. So, I mean, if you did, then it's whatever. But I'm going to go over a few things. First off, next week, there will be no PCP upload because week 5 is sort of merging into 2 weeks, and then we have to do a redraft. So there's not too much content coming out of PCP, and I'd rather just skip next week and then reevaluate everything and just get everything back up the following week. But there will be PTL draft analysis going up next week. That is another league I joined, and I have a good team in that league, and I'll explain that league in that video, and that's going to go up. I got an Elgato for Christmas, so Sword and Shield content will be making an appearance on the channel. I'm not completely sure what I'm going to be uploading yet, but there will be some content, I can guarantee you guys. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. And finally, this battle was done a week ago, so it's not really fresh in my mind, and I did build in a rush, so the build isn't my best build. And that really sucks because Dan has a very scary team. It's probably the scariest team I've fought against so far. So I wanted to let you guys know that this is not going to be an easy battle whatsoever. And again, that's all the information I really have to tell you guys. Again, you don't know his team because I never say his team. His team's very scary. And I'm going to go over his team. That's all for the announcements. So if you guys want to go skip to the battle, you can do it now. I'm going to go into his team. Looking at Dan's team, his team consists of Excadrill, Mimikyu, Phalanx, Pyukumuku, Noivern, Obstagoon, Musharna, Manectric, Golisopod, Shuckle, and Dusclops. He does have 2 Pokemon in the Phalanx and the Obstagoon, but what I expect him to bring consists of Excadrill, Mimikyu, Noivern, Obstagoon, Manectric, and Shuckle. This is a really hard matchup because of one reason, and that is the fact that he can go from full-on stall defensive to hyper offensive breaking power in a second, and that is very scary for my team to adjust to. And the way I usually battle, I'm not really good with that change very fast. He has very bulky stall mons like Pyukumuku, Shuckle, Dusclops that can just sit there and wall my team if I don't build a certain way. But then he can also bring breakers like Obstagoon, Noivern, Drill. If I don't build a certain way, they can just run through my team. It's very scary, and I don't know what he's going to bring. He has a lot of different battle styles that he could bring to this matchup. He has a lot of threats. I'm going to mention 3 of them: Mimikyu, Noivern, and Manectric. Mimikyu does very bad things to my team. I barely have a switch in. I have Ferrothorn, and that is it. Offensively beating this thing is insanely hard. Noivern's a threat because Substitute usually beats Stall like Pyukumuku, Shuckle, and Dusclops, but Noivern with Infiltrator sort of just ignores all that and breaks through my Submon, so that is also something I have to keep note of. And then Manectric. Manectric's only scary because with the way I built, I don't really have a switch into this thing because it has fire moves and Ferrothorn doesn't take fire moves well. That is a very big threat to my team, but that is just 3 mons. Everything is really a big threat to my team. The only thing I'm not really that scared of is like Musharna and stuff, only because Musharna doesn't get Heal Bell now, and you just hit Toxic and it's gone. But outside of that, everything on his team is very scary. It's a big threat. I'm going to have to adjust to whatever playstyle he brings to this particular game. And remember, I did build this team very quickly, so I wasn't able to look over all the mini holes I have in my team. So that is basically the rundown of his team. But what I'm bringing this week consists of Salazzle, Mandibuzz, Gardevoir, Ferrothorn, Conkeldurr, and Jellicent. To start us off this week, we have Salazzle. Salazzle is rocking out with the Black Sludge and the Oblivious ability, max HP, 100 in attack, and 160 in speed with a Timid Nature, moves being Toxic, Taunt, Sub, and Flamethrower. I'm probably going to fly by the set because there's not much to it. Basically, the Salazzle is here to break down his stall. Salazzle is a really good stall breaker. It basically beats the Pyukumuku, the Shuckle, and the Dusclops to an extent. I am going to have Black Sludge for all that, so I have to be a little bit careful of like knockoff users. And it also offensively beats a few of his mons, particularly Excadrill is namely the one I want to look at because it beats Excadrill offensively as long as webs aren't up. And if webs aren't up, speaking of which, it actually does beat a few other things like Golisopod if I can knock it into emergency exit range, and if it's under 50 it should be knocked out. Manectric with a little bit of chip, and then Mimikyu with a little bit of chip as well. And that's sort of it, but again, mainly here just to beat his stall down. Slazzle's a really good stall breaker, again, because like it can't get toxic, they can't really get taunted with Oblivious. It's going to be really good this game, I hope. But next up we have Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is rocking out with max HP, max defense with the heavy duty boots, because that's the only item I ever run on this set. Foul Play, U-Turn, Toxic, and Roost. On the opposite side of the spectrum, I need something to switch into his breakers, and this is mainly my switching, because this deals with X control quite fine. It deals with Phalanx, barring like Swords Dance Close Combat, that could be a little bit scary. Obstagoon, it deals with for the most part, and then a few other things like Dusclops and Musharna I can also beat because Dusclops lost Toxic, and I can just Toxic that back. Foul Play is very good because he has a lot of physical attackers on his team, so that'll do some big damage to a lot of his members. U-Turn is really good pivot momentum for his more offensive mons, and Toxic, all that's Toxic and Roost for standard stuff. And I didn't really need the Spadef because Musharna really doesn't hit hard, and I'm never staying in on Manectric anyway. So that is going to be the Mandibuzz set. I hope it does a lot of work. Next up, I was really skeptical about this next set. We have Gardevoir. Gardevoir also has 100 insp attack, but has 192 HP. Sorry, 216 speed with the Timid Nature to outspeed Phalanx. Moves being Sub, Taunt, Moonblast, and Mystical Fire. Mystical Fire is there to hit the Excadrill, and Moonblast is basically there for everything else. This is to outspeed a Phalanx, max speed Phalanx. And this also deals with this stall, not as well as Salazzle, but I wanted a backup way to deal with it outside of Salazzle, so I have Gardevoir for this. I also have Gardevoir for this because Sub Gardevoir doesn't lose to Infiltrator Noivern, but Salazzle does for the most part. So that is why I have Gardevoir on the team as opposed to Salazzle. Gardevoir is going to be better against Noivern than Salazzle, and that's why I sort of went that route in the end. I feel like Choice Scarf Gardevoir or Specs wouldn't really do the job because breaking through some of his mons is not the easiest thing in the entire world, and he has an Obstagoon Sin right there, so that's why I didn't really go that route in the end. Plus, Shadow Snake Mimikyu does like 70% of me, and that is just, I'm not trying to take that. But that's basically the Gardevoir set, another way to beat his stall and sort of beat his mixed mons if they are low or I have enough health to take a hit, because Gardevoir is rather bulky, and that is just basically the Gardevoir set. Next up, we have our only Mimikyu switching in the entire world. We have Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn has max HP, 148 defense with an Impish Nature, and 104 Spadef with the Chople Berry. Moves being Rocks, Leech Seed, Iron Head, Knockoff. Grass Stab wasn't really necessary this week. It wasn't doing much. Rocks are really good against this team because his only spinner is Drill and Noivern, and this basically beats Noivern if Noivern doesn't have Flamethrower, or it's going to be like a 50-50 of whether he Flamethrowers or Defogs, and I can knock off his item or at least seed him. And this, I can seed the Drill and knock off its item as well, and just it's really good utility mon overall, but it's mainly here just to switch into Mimikyu, because Mimikyu is a threat. That thing destroys Gardevoir, it beats Salazzle if webs are up, and Mandibuzz does not want to take a play rough, so I'm not really looking to fire against that. So Ferrothorn is my best way to deal with it. Chople Berries for the whack Drain Punch if he decides to bring it, and I have Iron Head just to nuke him back. And that's basically the Ferrothorn set. It also switches into a few of his other mons, like Musharna, for example. But that is mainly the big gist of Ferrothorn. It's more physically defensive as well. Fifth mon on the team is Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr has a lot of this EV investment whack. Max HP, 116 attack with Adamant Nature, 72 defense, 64 Spadef and 8 in speed with the Roselli Berry. Very scared that Mimikyu again. Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Ice Punch, and Defog. I'm not really a big fan of this set because he has like Dusclops just sitting right there, or any of his stall mons can just beat this because I don't have I'm not like Guts Flame Orb or anything. So that's a little bit scary. And Drain Punch, Mach Punch aren't doing too much to Noivern. I would have to like predict in order to hit that thing. Defog was just in case Shuckle got out of hand. I wanted to at least have some hazard control on the team, and Conk had the best matchup against Shuckle. So that's why I decided to do this in the end. Roselli Berry, I can guarantee live a +2 play rough from Mimikyu, and Ice Punch does like 50-ish%, so if it's in range then it's not that bad. And then Drain Punch, Mach Punch is just good neutral coverage. Mach Punch is to make sure like Obstagoon is never a big threat, and it's just good priority all around. So that is basically the Conkeldurr set. Really skeptical about this set. I'm not sure if I like it, but we're going to rock with it anyway. And then finally we have Jellicent. Jellicent is holding the leftovers with max HP, mixed defenses with Calm Nature. Surf, Ice Beam, Taunt, and Recover are the moves. Recover over Strength Stat because Defiant Phalanx could be a little bit scary. Surf over Scald because Obstagoon, it's going to get burnt regardless, but Surf does more damage anyway, so that's why I rocked out with that. I decided to do Curse Body over Water Absorb because I don't think he's going to ever click a water move if Jellicent is still alive with Golisopod, and that is really the only mon that had water coverage against my team. So that's why I decided just Curse Body was going to be a little bit better overall. Taunt to stop me from getting Toxic Poison, Surf Ice Beam's nice, and recover just for some longevity to this Jellicent. This is kind of it, and that is basically going to be it for the team. Again, I built this in like 2 hours, and that might sound like a lot, but the way I build is I kind of half build. I'll listen to music and just watch videos, and then I'll look at the build every now and then I'll get to a point where I'll stop, and then the next day I'll look it over, and then I'll fully build the next day. I'll finish up what I started, but I wasn't able to do that just because of the way we decided to battle this week. But anyway, I'm gonna be quiet. We're gonna go over to Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we are here on Pokemon Showdown, and he did bring all the threats. He's got Ancient Pod, he's got Noivern. The only threat he did not bring is Manectric, but this is fine. We can deal with this battle. I am expecting a Shuckle lead because he has it, and he usually does lead with Shuckle, so I am going to lead off with Salazzle. Salazzle is pretty good against the Shuckle, as I do get this lead right. The thing is, I could go for Taunt here to prevent his rocks or webs from going up. I'm actually going to go for Substitute. I do this because he could go for Knockoff if I did go for Taunt. And if he did that, then the longevity on Salazzle would be ruined. And I do have Defog on my Conkeldurr, so even if he did get either rocks or webs up, which he gets rocks up in this case, I can defog them later. So that was my mindset when this set of plays. Now I can just sub-toxic the Shuckle down and taunt it, so he can't do much. Knockoff doesn't break a sub. It doesn't even break it if he goes for it twice or 3 times. So I'm not really too scared of the Shuckle whatsoever. And I still have my Black Sludge because he didn't knock me off. So this is going a very well set of turns, especially because he went for rocks. Webs are a little bit annoying for my team, but rocks aren't too bad. It's just the webs usually. So he does go out into Ancient Pod here as I click Taunt, expecting him just to try and get webs, but he doesn't. Now what I should have done here was gone for sub, but as he goes for Aqua Jet, but I actually go for Flamethrower just to get some, hopefully not get into emergency exit range, but I do not do that, however. This sucks because now I have to switch out because he has Aqua Jet and not First Impression, as my opponent makes a GOAT tier play and goes for Shadow Claw on my Jellicent switching. That was really bad for me because Life Orb puts him in emergency exit range, and now he can go out into whatever he wants, which is the Noivern in this case. And Jellicent's my main Noivern switching, so I really don't have much for this thing, as he actually is going to reveal the Shadow Ball, and that knocks me out. So that really sucks. He had 2 really good turns right there. And now I have to go out into Gardevoir because this is my only real way to beat this thing. This thing does have Frisk, which actually really helps me out because I do learn that this Noivern is Expert Belt, so I am going to keep that in mind for later. And he cannot beat my Gardevoir and Salazzle if they're behind a sub, as I just fire off a Moonblast here. And Shuckle comes in, he actually gets the berry, so that really sucks for me. The same thing again, this is even more important now because I do have Taunt on this thing too, but again, I just go for sub. And as he gets up webs, I do this because, again, if he clicks Knockoff, my longevity on Gardevoir is crippled. And that's even bigger on Gardevoir because since Jellicent's gone, my only real way to deal with Noivern is through this Gardevoir. So definitely keep that in mind. I go for Mystical Fire, expecting Joel to be the switch-in, but he actually sacks off Golisopod. So that was actually a really smart play on my opponent's part. Moonblast probably would have knocked this out, and that would have been better for me, but it happens. But Golisopod is down, and Gardevoir is at a solid 72%, so it's still viably in range. Shadow Ball shouldn't knock out Gardevoir, especially since I'm max HP. So I do need to keep this thing. I go out into Conk, because Conk really wasn't doing too much except for defogging hazards, and I felt like this was my opportunity too. So that's why Conk is out here against the Excadrill and not the Manabuzz. So I am going to defog as he brings out the Shuckle, and this really sucks because the Shuckle is slower than my Conk, so I can't defog any hazards away without him getting at least 1 up. I am going to Ice Punch, just in case he wants to double out the Noivern, but he doesn't, as he gets some webs. I could defog, but since he's Toxic Poisoned, this is a losing battle for me, so I'm just going to skip that and just Drain Punch the Shuckle. As Shuckle is going to go down, so there is no rocks on my side of the field now, but the webs are up. So this is looking pretty scary, I'm not going to lie. As he just does knock out my Conk. There's no point of really trying to defog because there's nothing else I could have defogged on except for maybe Drill. But I don't think he would have given me that opportunity. As now I can go out into Gardevoir and at least fire off a Moonblast. I almost went for Substitute here as he does U-turn. As I do fire off a Moonblast as he does bring out the Drill. So I could have subbed there and gotten a little bit more damage with Mystical Fire. But in the end it still would have been the same result, as I learned that this is a pretty offensive Drill. And at this point I'm thinking, wait. I sack off my Gardevoir, and you're probably like, what the heck? The Noivern probably wins now. But he has Air Slash, Shadow Ball, and U-turn. I'm assuming that last move is Flamethrower, so Mandibuzz actually does wall at Noivern, because Noivern naturally does not have the highest special attack. So I'm thinking Mandibuzz is going to have to hard carry this team here. As he goes out in the Phalanx on my Mandibuzz and sets up a no retreat, that's fine because this Mandibuzz is meant to deal with this Phalanx. I'm max HP, max defense, so here I can just Roost Stall. And luckily he only has the Brick Break as you see now, and it only has 28%, so it's really doing minimal damage. This is really not that scary at all, as Phalanx is starting to get whittled down by my Toxic. He does decide to go for Iron Head, which is the smarter play, just in case he wants to flinch me out. He does not flinch me here, as I get more Toxic Chip on this thing. As I'm going to just keep clicking Roost, I'm going to stall this Phalanx, you can't switch out. And now this turn, I am going to go out into the Salazzle. I do this because he won't knock me out with any move he clicks, and this is to make sure that if Mimikyu wants to come in and set up, it won't be a risk for me, because Flamethrower and just sacking Salazzle is not a risk, while risking my Mandibuzz to a Play Rough, that is a big risk. So that's why I decided to do this in the end, as he is going to bring out Drill, and he just clicks Earthquake. I just stayed in just in case he wanted to overpredict and click Iron Head, but he didn't. As now I can go into Mandibuzz, trying to hard carry this team to a victory, as I'm just going to click Foul Play, as he clicks Swords Dance, so I'm definitely knocking out this Drill now, as Drill is going to go down. But this is really a close, tight game because he's got Mimikyu, and here comes the Mimikyu, and I make a hard decision as I'm going to U-turn, as he clicks Play Rough, and he gets a lot of chip on me, and that really sucks because Noivern's Air Slash could flinch me, and it's looking a lot scary now. Because I did this though, his disguise is gone, so he could definitely not set up for free now, and that is really big. Here I decided to go for Leech Seed, expecting him to actually want to go out into Noivern, so I do make a nice play here as I am able to connect my Leech Seed and get some chip on this. I also do this because if he did this, Mandibuzz can switch in and guaranteed live 2 Air Slashers because of the Leech Seed chip, as he does reveal the Flamethrower, and I was pretty sure he would do that. If he had Draco, that means that Ferrothorn basically cleaned up the game, but now I do have to be a little bit more careful because I do have to 1v1 each Mon with the right Mon, like Ferrothorn for Mimikyu and Mandibuzz for Noivern, as I go out into Ferrothorn, and I'm starting to think he doesn't have Drain Punch, as he clicks Destiny Bond, and that's basically telling me he doesn't have Drain Punch on this thing. He has the Shadow Claw and the D-Bond. I don't think he has Drain Punch. I don't think he might not even have Swords Dance, to be honest, since he was Red Card, which I do like the Red Card Mimikyu set. I did get Rocks up here just because Noivern can only switch in so many times now, and basically it is over at this point. I just click Knockoff just in case, again, switch in. As this time he goes out into Noivern, and I just click Leech Seed. I don't want to lose my Ferrothorn to the Destiny Bond just in case I need it for a little bit later for whatever reason I get hacked out, so that's why I'm trying to preserve this Ferrothorn a bit. As at this point it's basically over, especially because he clicks Air Slash on my Mandibuzz and doesn't U-turn out. Basically, I get Foul Play for free and something dies, and at this point, it's looking pretty bad for my opponent, as Mimikyu comes in, and Foul Play is going to knock it out, and basically, Noivern just has to flinch out my Mandibuzz to death, and at this point, he's accepting his defeat as he just died in the X's, which we're not allowed to do, but it's kind of like whatever at that point. It was checkmate, so we are actually going to beat my opponent, Dan, 2-0, so GG to Dan. Big shoutouts to Mandibuzz for the hard carry in this game. Without Mandibuzz, I basically would have lost this game. My opponent put me in a hole pretty early, and luckily Mandibuzz was able to help me get out of that hole. I was also pretty happy with the way Gardevoir performed in this game. Everything else was a little bit, I could have played better, but given the circumstances of the game, I'll take what I can get. And poor Jellicent got predicted on again. Last week, I think I switched in on a Wild Charge, and that just really sucked. And this week, he switched in on a Shadow Claw. So, poor Jellicent, maybe we'll get some work in with that next week. We are going to move up to a 4-0 record. And I just said next week, but it's going to be in 2 weeks when the next PCP upload is. And I will let you guys know, we are supposed to face off against Word, but Word was kicked from the league for just forfeiting and not really participating too much. And he has been taken over by Nico. I'm so excited to face Nico. I've known Nico for so long, and I've actually never battled him. And I'm really excited to do that. He is taking over a team that is 2-2 unless he makes up forfeit games, but I'm not sure if he actually will do that. He does have a Corviknight on his team as a new Mon, but I'm not sure if he's going to make changes to the team. I don't know yet. But our next battle against Nico will be our last battle with this full-on team, and then we are going to do a redraft. And then I don't know if I'll make a video about the redraft yet, but I'll say it on my Twitter. My Twitter has a lot of information, so I highly recommend you go follow it in the description below. And that's basically going to be it. Again, happy holidays to everybody watching. If you watch me during the holiday season, I'm very grateful for it because, you guys have a lot of things to do. But thank you guys for watching this video so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.